Assalamu alaikum girls. Welcome to your revision lesson on chapter 1 and chapter 2. Since chapter 1 and chapter 2 are covered as part of your midterm assessment, this revision will be a recorded lesson. So let's first revise chapter 1 and then we will go into questions of chapter 2. We will start off with a quiz that will recap some of the multiple choice content for you. So let's have a preview of the quiz. This will cover some of the short answer questions that you are expected to know. Alright, so the first question asks, what do we call the computer's main memory which temporarily stores data when the computer is switched on? So the keyword here is temporary, and so we know this is random access memory. What are the two main categories of software? We know the two types of software are system software and application software. Which of these is not a type of computer? Supercomputer is a type of computer, laptop is a type of computer, Windows is an operating system, it's not a type of computer. Which user interface are you currently using? So definitely the one we are currently using is a GUI, a graphical user interface. Let's move on. What are the four features of a graphical user interface? The four features are WIMP. Recollect what WIMP stands for: windows, icons, menus and pointer. Which computer component executes commands? So the execution is always done by the CPU. The CPU is the brain of the computer, remember? All the processing takes place in the CPU. The ROM stores permanent instructions like permanent tells us that this must be referring to the BIOS, because the BIOS is used to start up the computer. Which of these is not a type of UI? Graphical user interface and command line interface are two types of UI. Which of these computers is the largest? The largest computer is a mainframe computer or a supercomputer. These are used for huge calculations in astronomical observatories and so on, in scientific labs and such. RAM loses its content once the computer is switched off. We know this already. Therefore, it is said to be a volatile type of memory. Volatile means the contents are lost. Alright. Now that we are done with the starter quiz, let's look at some of the past paper questions that have been covered in chapter 1 in the past. A printer is a type of dash. A printer, as we know, is a type of an output device. So we circle output device. Let's check if our answer is right. We are correct. Which of these is not used to control a screen pointer? We have multiple types of pointers. Mouse is used for pointing, trackpad is used for pointing, joystick is used for pointing, but we know that a webcam is not for pointing. It's in fact it is an input device, but it's not a pointing device, and we are right there. Which type of computer is the most portable? Supercomputer is the largest type of computer. Mainframe is also very large, so they are not portable. Desktop sits on the desk, hence its name. So the most portable is a tablet computer. A biometric scanner controls access to a secure warehouse. What is one advantage of this? So if you have a biometric scanner, one advantage of having it is that nobody can get into the warehouse, no need to carry a swipe card. They always recognize banned users, or identity theft is difficult. So it's not that no one can get in, because people with the correct biometric can get in. So let's see, maybe this is the answer. Identity theft is difficult because only the people who have the biometric in their system can enter. So it seems that all B, C and D are correct answers for this question. So note this question please. This fifth question is a true or false question about RAM and ROM. This is a very often asked question as well in your past papers. The first question says RAM is not volatile. We did this in the quizzes. RAM is volatile because the content is lost, so that is false. ROM is used to store the BIOS of a computer. BIOS is always stored and should not be deleted and should be in the ROM, so this is true. The data in ROM is easier to change than in RAM. The data in ROM is read only, it cannot be changed, so this is a false statement. RAM is used to store the data the user is currently working on. RAM stores temporary data, which is what the user is currently working on, so that is true. So we are right. In question number 6, we have to identify the following internal hardware devices. The devices are already given here. We just have to write their names under the correct picture. So you can see the names already given here. Picture identification is a very common question that comes as question 1 in your paper. So let's try to do this. The first one we know is an internal hard disk drive. This paper was there in your PowerPoints as well. This is an internal HDD. The next question is asking, what is this one? This is your, let's get back to this, let's do the ones we are completely sure of. This is a big green board, so this can be nothing other than the motherboard. This is your motherboard. This one over here has audio ports on the side, so this has to be the sound card. This is the sound card. This is your RAM chip because RAM slots are extendable and they look like this. This is the CPU, so let's call it the processor since that's the name given in your list. And we have the last one. This has a VGA cable coming out of it, so this must be a video card. So what we are left with is a ROM. So now we know this is a ROM. Alright, so let's see if we are right. Then this is again a question on RAM and ROM asking which one is more suitable for RAM or ROM. So let's try to do this. What stores the data the user is currently working on? Currently working on will be RAM. What stores the BIOS? The BIOS is in the ROM. What stores the program instruction for computer games? That is the permanent data, so that will be ROM as well. Now we move on to chapter 2. So chapter 2 also we are going to start revision with a quiz, and I will preview the quiz for you. So the first question asks, you can use this to input printed documents to a computer. What puts printed documents on a computer? If you want to input a printed document, you need to use a scanner as your input device. Let's go to the next question. Which of these is not an input device? We know that a microphone is input, keyboard is input, scanner is input, so that must be screen because screen is an output device. Screen here refers to a monitor. The input device that rolls on a desktop and controls the position of the cursor on the screen. This refers to a mouse because the mouse rolls and controls the position of your cursor. The next question is asking, what can you input text using the device? So let's look. The input of a text can be done by a keyboard. So the answer is keyboard. We move to the next question. Which of the following is not included as a pointing device? We did this before as well. A mouse is a pointing device, touchpad and tracker ball are pointing devices. So, keyboard is an input of text, so it's not a pointing device. Dash can input graphical images and pictures for a computer. This could be plotter or scanner, so let's try scanner. Which of the following are the most common input devices? The most common ones are keyboard and mouse. If you have a desktop, you need to have a keyboard and mouse for sure. What can a scanner scan? A scanner can scan pictures, text, images, any of this. It's not limited only to text. The device which is designed to minimize background sound is called a microphone. A microphone will record only what is spoken into it and not all of the background noise. Information that comes from an external source and is fed into the computer software is called the input. The input gets processed and then becomes the output that comes out of the computer. The most popular input device for computer games is definitely a joystick. It allows you to move in all the directions in 2D and 3D. For video conferencing over the internet, what might you use? For video conferencing, we definitely need a webcam because video needs to be shown. Alright, now let's go back to the revision for chapter 2. The first question is asking us what are the advantages about using a chip and pin system over a magnetic stripe system. So, in this question you can clearly see that we are asked for advantages of chip and pin over a magnetic stripe. That means you have to support chip and pin in your answer and talk about the drawbacks of magnetic stripe system. Let's have a look at the answer scheme for this. A chip and pin data is more difficult to copy, so there is less chance of theft and there is extra layer of security because it uses a pin number. Even if it is stolen, the thief will not know the pin number, so it cannot be used. Unlike a magnetic stripe, it can just be striped, yeah, so anyone can use it. Because it has chip and pin can store large amount of information, and this will be easy for disabled people instead of signing. You can reduce disputes over the validity of signature because pin is required, and a chip and pin is not affected by magnetic fields. So, because this is a 4-mark question, you need to have 4 points, and these are some of the points you can write. Let's do this true and false together. Dot matrix printers produce a high quality output. Dot matrix is the one used for continuous stationery. It's used for printing receipts. You usually get a copy of this when you pay for your books, so this is false. Laser printers are very noisy. Laser printers are used in offices. They are not noisy, so this is false. Graph plotters are used when extremely large hard copy is required. This is true. Inkjet is used where continuous stationery is required. Continuous stationery is a dot matrix printer, so this is also false. Alright. This is an example of a fill in the blank kind of question. This is also common in your question paper. We need to complete the sentences, and all the fill in the blanks will be from the list given here. Options from a menu can be selected using a dash. Options from a menu can be using a mouse. Magnetic ink characters MIC are used to record information on. The magnetic ink is mainly used on a check, so the answer will be bank check. Then it asks a very large file which needs to be moved from one computer to another for editing can be stored on a dash. The keyword here is a very large file, and it has to be moved from one computer to another. So, since it is a very large file, we can use, our options are floppy disk and memory stick. Because it is a very large file, let us go for memory stick. Then the next question is asking sound can be input using what? Sound can be input using microphone. A mic inputs sound. Let's check our answers. We are right. The next question is saying that there is a chip and pin system used at checkouts, and we have to put the following steps in order of number 2 to 8. So, the steps that is used in a chip and pin system are given here. Number 1 is marked for us. We have to put the rest of the numbers 2 to 8. The first, we know the card is inserted into the reader. Then what is done? Let's check. Once the card is inserted, probably the next step will be that the card validity is checked. We can check our answers. Card validity is checked, and then we see that the next step is typing in your PIN number. PIN number is compared with what is stored. If the PIN is the same, we go to the next step, and the supermarket will contact your bank computer. The bank will check if there is enough fund. If there is, then the transaction is authorized. So, you have 1 mark for every correct number. The next question is to identify hardware devices as with their names and whether they are input, output or storage. So, you have to write their name and their type. So, let us go over this. Very simple. Mouse is an input device. This is your external hard drive. It is a storage device. A monitor is an output device. An inkjet printer is an output device. Keyboard is used for input. Speaker is used for output. USB drive is used for storage. Webcam is used for input. That question continues here, and you can see the answers here as well. A projector is used for output, DVD for storage, scanner for input, headphones for output, barcode scanner for input. This is a big printer, so that is a wide format printer. It is used for output. Digital camera is used for input and output because you get input, you can input what picture is there in front of you and it comes on the screen, so that is output as well. Joystick used for gaming is input, laser printer is output, and tracker ball is input. That is all for today, girls. Hope this revision was useful for you. Make sure you study chapter 1 and 2 thoroughly as well. Assalamu alaikum.